Hi, my name is Jen, and I just wanted to share a little bit about my own experience with domestic violence. I lived with my ex for 2.5 years, and it took me about 4 times before I finally left him for the last time. Typically, it takes women up to 7 times before they either leave or, unfortunately, are murdered by their abuser. I first met my ex at our Bible college that I went to, and afterwards we connected years and years and years later on a dating app, Christian Mingle. And I thought, well, he must be a Christian. Well, he must be spiritual because of all the stuff he would tell me. And I didn't know at the time that I needed to look for someone who was spirit filled, not just spiritual sounding. Our marriage was definitely difficult, and he also had a substance abuse problem. But I had gotten married later in life. I was 38 when I got married, and I thought, well, they all say marriage is hard. It's just hard. Just got to try harder. I just got to fast and pray for him. I got to listen to teachings and different things, and it would get better. He had a lot of trauma in his past. It wasn't his fault. I could help him. Does it sound familiar to anybody? Later, once I actually got involved in domestic abuse survivor groups through Call to Peace Ministry, I realized, gosh, a lot of us are those people helpers. We're the missionaries. We're the ministry people. We're counselors. We're social workers. We're nurses. We're caregivers. A lot of us that end up attracting these kind of men are the helpers. You know, we want to help, and it's not our fault that we attracted them, but at the same time, we make really good marks for them. Dr. Ramani calls this the dark fairy tale with the empath and the coercive controller or narcissist. It's just a perfect fit in many ways, in a horrible way, because the narcissistic person or the coercive controller wants someone that has all the attributes that they themselves don't have. They want someone who will devote everything to them, and a lot of times the empaths or people helpers, we end up just having everything sucked from us. I used to say it was like being married to a vampire. I knew there were times I had to leave for my own safety. There was times when police were involved, and I know what grooming is, but when it was happening to me, I couldn't see it. And I would not have considered myself living in domestic violence while I was in it, which is not uncommon. One of the things that helped me realize I was living in domestic abuse was I attended a retreat by Call to Peace Ministries in 2021. I had just left my ex for the last time, and I was still seeking reconciliation, giving him space for that. And unfortunately, he was just wanted me back, but didn't want to actually do the reconciliation. He didn't want to do the work of reconciliation that was needed, but he did want me just to come back. And he had pastors on his side that had not heard my side of the story that were urging me to come back and help him get better. So when I attended this retreat, it was shocking because, first of all, I was so saddened that there were so many women. There was nearly, I think, 600 women there at this retreat in 2021, all of them, the vast majority of them survivors. I didn't know anybody when I went there, so I would sit down and have breakfast wherever there was a free seat. And one morning, a couple ladies and I were talking. We were kind of joking. Gosh, these guys, it's like they read from the same abuser's manual. And it was finally at that point it dawned on me that why did it sound familiar, these different things these guys were doing? Why did it seem like they were all doing the same thing? And it was because they were being used as tools by the enemy of our soul. We always say that Satan, he is looking for whom to devour. He's the author of confusion. He is a liar. He's an accuser of the brethren. He's there to destroy, to devour, to distract, if nothing else. And I realized this is what had been happening to me in my marriage, and I got really angry, actually. Sometimes anger is the thing that saves you, especially with those of us who have lived through domestic violence, once we finally pick up what's happening. I've been a Christian all my life. I got saved when I was 5, and I knew the tactics of the enemy, and I got mad that my ex was using those same tactics on me, and I got mad at myself because I didn't notice it until then. And I just thought, you know what? This is not okay. This is not how a marriage should be. There's difficulties in marriage, but this is not that. This is the opposite of how it should be. I had in a bathroom, when I lived with my ex, I had 1 Corinthians 13 on the wall in front of me because I was like, I just gotta pray more, and I gotta fast and pray more for him, and I gotta do better, and I gotta be the best wife ever. And I had it there to remind me to be loving and to be kind and to not be about my own desires and all these things. It finally dawned on me, like, I might be doing all this, but he's not even not doing those things. He's doing the exact polar opposite. He has no patience. He is being unkind. Everything revolves around him and his needs as if I have no needs at all. One of the things that was hard though is when I first left and I first started talking a little bit about my experience, because I had been basically silenced, is that I got a lot of people saying, well, did he hit you? And there was physical abuse in the marriage, but it just struck me like that is not the only kind of abuse that there is, and that's not the only kind of ways that you can fail your marital vows. Sarah McDougall has a great document about the red flags of abuse, and these are the different types of abuse there is. There's the abuse of beliefs, using your beliefs to their own advantage or levering your convictions against you. I did experience that. There is cyber abuse, trying to control what you're doing on your phone and all of that. I experienced that. Emotional, invalidates your perception of reality. That was a really, really big one. Intellectual, demands perfection, dumbs the victim down. They're intimidated by your own mind. I experienced that. Financial is very, very controlling of finances. He would have a man-sized temper tantrum every time I came home from the grocery store, just buying us basics of food. Legal abuse. This is still going on with myself, and it's very common with other people, especially who share custody. And I've been divorced from him and remarried, and we're still dealing with some stuff over the house we own together. Medical abuse. I dealt with this as well. He was not really for me getting the help I need physically. I had to get myself to and from appointments. He wouldn't come get me. Pets and property. There was many holes in the walls of the rental we used. Physical abuse. Physical is not necessarily just hitting on someone. It also includes reckless driving, which we had a lot, and destroying items and things like that. Also verbal abuse. I went through this every evening. He would ramp up in the evenings until very late and keep me up, which even sleep deprivation is a type of abuse, which I definitely dealt with. Social monitors, friendships, and activities. I used to go to a women's Bible study with Calvary Chapel Women every week, and I knew that when I came home, I would be facing a bull up. But it was just like a place in my week that was like an oasis against what I was living with. Psychological. They do things and deny it later. That's also called gaslighting. Um, there's also spiritual abuse. He knew how to quote the Bible, and even though I've been around the Bible for my whole life, somehow he would twist it against me, and I would get confused about it. Spiritual abuse is one of the hardest to come back from, because you're not only questioning how they misuse scripture, but you're questioning your own concept of God and where was he, and how could this happen. And a big part of what I was confused about is, having lived on the mission field, I had lived with having to live by faith, and I had trusted God and he had my back, and I was confused why that wasn't happening in this marriage. But the thing is, God wasn't in it. This was not something from him. This was not the way he wants anybody to be treated. And it took me a while to realize that I could fast and I could pray all I wanted for my ex, but he had to surrender, and God was never going to make somebody surrender. They have to come to that themselves. And so I think I would say I was angry at God at times, because why couldn't he just fix my husband? But it wasn't really about that. He needed to surrender, and he chose not to. There's other types of abuse that I personally didn't go through. We didn't have kids together, which was a blessing in many ways. Now I'm remarried to a wonderful, godly, spirit-filled man, and I'm very grateful. I also have two bonus daughters, and I'm pretty open about my story because I don't want them to end up in the same kind of relationship I was in. Share about this because this month is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I am going to link to my crowdfunder page, which helps Call to Peace Ministries serve women and their children free of charge. And I would love if you could give any amount that the Lord places on your heart. Thank you so much, and have a blessed day.